Drivers talking to you today about frequently asked questions. I got a lot of questions, same over and over again for beginner drivers who are taking on the task of learning how to drive and preparing for their test to get their license, and wanted to go over those and answer some of those questions for you so we have them all in the same place, and you can use that as a resource and to help yourself to be successful in learning how to drive, to be a safer, smarter driver. Because keep in mind that getting your driver's license is a low benchmark. There is a lot of stuff that you need to learn after you get your driver's license that you were not taught leading up to your license. For example, you may never have driven in the rain at night during your driving sessions when you were learning how to drive and preparing for your driver's test. As well, you may have never driven at night, period, and know how to use your headlights, because the farther you get away from cities and ambient light of street lights and stores and all those types of things, it's more difficult to drive because you have to rely on your headlights of your vehicle. And unless you have a brand new vehicle, the lights on your vehicle don't really work very well, and there's a lot of other things and strategies and techniques that you need to put in place, and you're going to learn this kind of trial and error without other people in the vehicle with you. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to answer those frequently asked questions for you. Ant is traveling from the UK. Hello, my friend. Welcome, and thanks for tuning in from the UK there. Sebastian, I have a CDL with hazardous materials endorsement. Congratulations on that. Elevator fan. Camp weekend this Friday in Rochester, Indiana. Awesome, my friend. Sebastian's tuning in for Des Moines, Iowa. Let us know where you're tuning in from in the world. Let us know what class of license you're working towards. Answering any of your questions, all your questions about learning how to drive and preparing for a driver's test. Mallory's tuning in from the Maritimes, and they have the forest fires under control there in eastern Canada on our Atlantic seaboard, which is good news. Unfortunately, now we have forest fires in Quebec on the north shore of the St. Lawrence River. So it's been quite a year for forest fires already. And I'm crossing my fingers that the weather changes here in British Columbia, because we've had a very hot May. We're leading into a very hot June, and this is very bad for us, for those of us who live in the province of British Columbia and on the west coast of North America, up and down the Rocky Mountains in the States as well, Washington State, Oregon, Northern California, because it gets dry very quickly, and then we're into forest fire seasons. Usually we get forest fire season in August. I'm a little leery that it might come early this year. Marion, I sparked a live stream because of my questions. Yes, we can definitely help you with your questions, Marion. No, you didn't spark a question, but I was watching a video last night about frequently asked questions, and definitely have a frequently asked question video. So I dug this up, and actually it was interesting because I didn't realize that it was 4 years ago that I did one of these. So here we go. Hi is here. Mallory, we had rain over the weekend here, and it has helped the whole wildfire situation out. Excellent. So the weather changed, and that helped out with the wildfires there. But we're going to talk about that. Oh, just on the note of wildfires, let's talk about wildfires. Let's talk about smoke, wind, driving near and around these situations. If you are in firefighter territory and there is a firefighter that's a forest fire that is active, okay, just find another route. Follow the directions of, flaggers and personnel that are directing traffic away from the situation to try and keep it safe so that firefighters can work, okay? And there's going to be helicopters, there's going to be planes, those types of things. There's going to be a lot of smoke. And also know that forest fires generate their own winds of up to 100 kilometers an hour. So know all of that, and do not drive into these forest fire areas to go in and, hey, fly your drone around, because first of all, you're interfering with firefighting crews. We had a fire up here on the back mountain on the east side of Vernon 2 years ago, and we had all the huge fires in 2020. Some nut job flies his drone up there, and they had to delay fighting the fire because it wasn't safe while somebody's up there flying their drones. So know that if you've got some idea that you think you're going to do that. And Vanilla, whom I missed, My apologies. I missed your comment there. If I miss you, I missed your question. Just type it again in the comments because it's busy here, lots of people here, and would definitely want to get to your questions and help you out and acknowledge that you're here as a smart driver participating in the live stream. Always great. Noah, Worcester, Maine. Hello, my friend. How are you? Klaus, good evening, Rick. How are you? I came back from work about an hour. Excellent. Yes, Marion, that made me angry about these nut jobs who are flying their drones around when firefighting crews and helicopters and planes are trying to get in to fight the fire, and you've got a goofy person with a drone out there because, you know, we got to take pictures of the fire. Elevator, my sister asked me about turning right on a red a couple of times. She is learning how to drive. Elevator fan, we definitely have a video here. Look up the playlist, Right Turns, and it's in that playlist, my friend. All right. Mallory, we still have one major wildfire that is out of control in southwest Nova Scotia, and hopefully they'll get that under control soon. Sensei, finally see the live stream. It's late this side. Okay. Hopefully not too late, but we're having another one tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so that may be a better time for you. I'm trying to get this one for the people in Europe so that it's not as late for them. All right, so without further ado, let's get over to the presentation. We'll get through the presentation the way that it works here. Presentation is about 10 or 12 minutes. We come back at the end of the presentation and we spend the remainder of the hour answering any questions you have about passing a driver's test, being a safer, smarter driver, or starting a career as a truck or bus driver, getting your CDL license. And as well, check out Pass Your Driver's Test First Time course package over at the Smart Drive Test website. Guaranteed to pass your driver's test first time. And we throw in the winter and defensive driving smart courses. And yes, I know with summer right now, you don't really need a winter driving course. The benefit of the winter driving course is all the techniques and skills for that course you can use in any inclement weather, whether you're driving in heavy rain, you're driving in fog, driving in ice and snow and those types of things. That will help you out with all of that. So Pass Your Driver's Test First Time course package. Check that out over at the Smart Drive Test website. All right. So we're answering your frequently asked questions, the questions I get all the time here on the channel that will help you out, beginner drivers, keep you safe on the roadways. And this is what we're doing. They changed the controls. I have trouble with this every week. Here we go. So for those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, hauling freight between Ontario, Canada, and mostly Ontario, Canada. We did haul some freight out of British Columbia and whatnot, but mostly Ontario, Canada, into the eastern seaboard of the United States, east of the Mississippi, the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, New York State, Pennsylvania, but did get out to the west a few times. But mostly east of the Mississippi, and it was all LTL freight, which is less than load, which means that there's 10, maybe 12 drops on a trailer and take you a couple of days to unload. All right, 1997, in a bid to come off the road and stop driving truck, became a licensed commercial driving instructor. Most of my instruction as a driving instructor has been with CDL vehicles, with large semi-trucks, buses, air brakes, logbooks, all that type of stuff. And I have done, but the interesting part about CDL licenses is that all of the stuff for your car license is applicable to the higher class licenses. And this is important for those of you who are upgrading to a class 4 license or a F license, which is a bus or an ambulance or those types of things. You have to go back and revisit all that car stuff, because correct stopping position at a stop sign intersection, how to do left-hand turns, shoulder checking, and all of that, all has to be done with a higher class license. So make sure that if you're upgrading, you have to go back and do all that stuff as well. 2006, I graduated from the University of Melbourne in Australia with my doctorate in legal history, which is a study of policing, courts, and prisons. And my expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. And interestingly enough, I'm also working on a book right now, The Psychology of Driving. We're finishing up Driving Test Secrets, just a few minor errors. And as I said, I'm hoping to have it up. No, I'm not hoping. I will have it up, available to you on Amazon for the 15th of June. And as of the 15th of June, the first 100 people that get that book will get it for free, and I'll tell you why after the presentation. While I was going to university in Australia and living there in the early 2000s, I drove bus for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines there. And if you want to know more about me and the Smart Drive Test online business, you can go over and check out the autobiography over at the Smart Drive Test website. Smart stuff to have a look at. I failed my driver's test. Now what? And no, do not go into a vast depression, laying on the couch for weeks at a time and watching reruns of Breaking Bad. Yes, take some time, day, maybe two, and be upset about it, but then get back on the horse and continue on. Also, look at Pass My Driving Test First Time podcast over at the Smart Drive Test website. Check that out and get the information you need to be successful first time. All right, so the first question I get a lot is my turns are too wide. I have difficulty controlling the steering wheel. How do I correct that? Slow speed maneuvers. Go and work in a parking lot with pylons, driving around, backing into spaces and those types of things. This will give you mastery of the primary controls. And the primary controls are the steering wheel, the gas pedal, and the brake. This will fix your wide turns because you do not know where your vehicle is in relation to other things or how much to turn the steering wheel to get it around the corner and whatnot. So the other piece about slow speed maneuvers and working in parking lots is it allows you to focus on one aspect of driving, and that is the vehicle, because there are many components to driving: observation, communication, space management, speed control, keeping it in the lane, and on and on and on. And there's a whole list of things that you need to do. You can isolate one skill at a time that you can focus on and you can work on if you're not in traffic, and do that in a parking lot. So if your turns are too wide, you're having difficulty keeping the vehicle in the lane or whatnot, go to a parking lot, go to a quiet area, someplace that you can work with some pylons, somewhere you can work with reversing, backing up, driving around in circles, backing into parking spaces and those types of things. All of this will make you a better driver overall. It's not sexy, it's not really that much fun, but it is the fundamentals of driving. The same thing slow speed maneuvers are to driving, what drills are to sports, and what scales are to music. So focus on the fundamentals of driving. Steering wheel control. Do I have to do hand over hand or do I have to hand to hand for steering wheel control? In most places in North America, it's going to be hand over hand. Some places in Europe, it is going to be hand to hand, kind of like milking the cow sort of thing. Push one hand to the other. But I find the hand to hand very cumbersome and slow, and most places will allow you to use hand over hand. All right. The other question is, can I allow the steering wheel to slide back through my hands? Yes, you can, as long as you keep your hands in contact, the palms of your hands in contact with the steering wheel. Every vehicle has power steering on it now, and it will just come back on its own when you start to accelerate after you complete the turn. All right, can I put my hand over the passenger seat when I'm backing up, when I'm reversing? Yes, absolutely you can, and it is also the one time when you're reversing that you can use one hand on the steering wheel to work the steering wheel. And again, slow speed maneuvers, having difficulty backing up, observing, and whatnot, find a place where you can back up for a couple of blocks in one motion, and again, that will improve your overall driving. Okay, how do I merge when the traffic is bumper to bumper on a freeway? Pick your spot when you're coming out onto the freeway, signal early, and if you're out on the acceleration lane and traffic is still not creating a gap for you in which to merge into, hug the left side of your lane. Do not move out of your lane, but hug the left side of your lane. Leave your signal on, and eventually it's going to frustrate and annoy somebody enough that they're going to create a space, because they think that when you're crowding the left side of the lane, there's a good possibility that you could just cream out onto the highway and crash into somebody. But that's not what you're going to do. But you're going to intimidate somebody enough that they're going to open up and create a space for you, and people will do that. All right, keep in mind, most people are nice, and we're talking let one person in nice. Not more than one person, but we're let one person in nice. So somebody eventually is going to let you merge in front of you out on the interstate or freeway. I'm scared to drive on the interstate or freeway. How do I overcome that? Work with a driving instructor, work with a mentor, somebody that has driving experience that's going to be able to go with you out on the highways or freeways and give you some tips and pointers about how to keep yourself safe. You got to manage space around your vehicle and maintain that large following distance of 8 to 10 cars or 3 to 4 seconds, and as well go early in the morning or later in the evening when traffic isn't very heavy, and that way you can get more comfortable with driving on the highways and freeways. And the other piece is, we've used that term here in the last little while here that somebody introduced, one of the smart drivers said, exposure therapy. The more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to be driving out on the highways and interstates and at highway speeds. Okay, what is the tolerance for speed? Can I go 5 miles an hour? 5 miles an hour is probably pushing it in terms of a driver's test and posted speed limit, but you can go a little bit over, you can go a little bit under, and probably I would say 2 to 3 miles is probably your maximum. Especially with most modern vehicles, it's pretty easy to control your speed. Okay? Keep in mind that your speed control for the purposes of your driver's test is tied into your observation. So your forward scanning pattern includes your instrument panel. And you should be looking at your instrument panel every 10 to 15 seconds. If you're not adjusting your speed every 10 to 15 seconds, that is telling the driving examiner that you are not observing correctly. All right? So how fast do I drive for a driver's test? The posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. So if you're in a school zone and traffic is backed up because it's in the morning at 8:30, quarter to 9, then traffic is not going to be going 20 miles an hour or 30 kilometers an hour. So you're going to be going a little bit slower as fast as the traffic is going. That will allow you to go. Shoulder checking. When do I shoulder check? Every time you change directions of the vehicle, shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check. And what am I looking for when I'm shoulder checking a half a block before the turn? You are checking for cyclists, for pedestrians, for kids on scooters. We have all these crazy scooters now with these kids running around. We have a guy here in Vernon who's on an electric skateboard and he is in traffic. He's in the bicycle lane and he's out in traffic. So you are shoulder checking, looking for these vulnerable road users. You are tracking and mapping these. Are mapping and tracking these road users, okay? So you're figuring out where they are. You're mapping them, okay? A little bit like Terminator, the Terminator where he's like, and he's tracking and mapping everything and figuring out where stuff is. That's what you need to be doing when you're driving. So you're getting a preliminary look as you're shoulder checking, as you're approaching the intersection, and then immediately before turning, when you get to the intersection, then you are looking, mapping, tracking. Okay. The car moves when I shoulder check. If the car moves, if it changes direction when you're shoulder checking, you're doing your shoulder check, your head movement too slow. You need to speed up your head movement when you're shoulder checking. It's got to be done more quickly so the vehicle doesn't change directions when you're driving. Okay, left turn position. Where do I stop at the intersection to make a left turn? I always teach to stop with the front steer tires on the front crosswalk line. That way you are committed to the intersection, but you're not in the intersection. If you're in the intersection and something goes wrong, you are probably going to be involved in a crash. So you want to stop at the edge of the intersection when the gap presents itself on the other side. Then you can drive straight into the intersection and meet that gap and get a little bit of speed, and you can reduce the amount of time that you're in the crosshairs of the oncoming traffic. Stopping positions at controlled intersections. What are these? Before the stop line, before the crosswalk lines or sidewalk, and if those two conditions don't exist, then at the edge of the intersection where the two roads meet. Those are your stopping positions at controlled intersections. Moving to the right lane after making a left-hand turn on a multi-lane road. You have to do this. The driving examiner will not tell you to do this. You have to do this automatically. So after you make the left-hand turn on a multi-lane road, move back to the right-hand lane. What if the light turns yellow when I'm in the intersection? Keep in mind, you own the intersection. You have to double, triple check that the oncoming traffic is coming to a stop. And when it does come to a stop, and it's clear to go, clear the intersection expediently. Many new drivers are really nervous on their test, and they're really, don't have a high level of confidence. So if the light turns yellow in the intersection, oftentimes what happens is they freeze up, they hesitate, and they don't go fast enough, and they're sitting in the intersection too long. And that's why they failed their driver's test. They didn't fail their driver's test because they went on a yellow or a red. They failed because they were too hesitant in moving through the intersection as quickly as possible and as safely as possible before making the left-hand turn. Backing up. Can I use a backup camera? Yes, you can use a backup camera. You just can't use it as your primary line of sight. You have to look out through the back window. And I know that some pickup trucks and other vehicles, you're not going to see anything out through the back window, but you still need to look out through the back window. Check your mirrors, check your backup camera, but look out through the back window as you're reversing. Do I have to look out through the back window? Yes. What is the 360-degree scan? 360-degree scan is looking all around your vehicle to, again, map and track other vulnerable road users that you could back up into. For example, the other day, I was picking my son up from soccer, and I was parallel parked between two vehicles, and I went to back up a little bit to get some space in front, and I looked behind me, and one of the kids had walked between my vehicle and the one behind me, so it was a good thing that I looked, right? And as well, when you're backing up, go slow. That way you've got time to observe, time to get stopped if something goes wrong. And in the unfortunate event that you do hit something, you're going to minimize the amount of damage when you're reversing. 3-point turns. Do I have to signal on a 3-point turn? Yes, forward and in reverse. And you have to signal every time you change direction of the vehicle, both going forward and when you're reversing. Parking. Will I fail if I hit the curb on a parallel park? Yes, you will. If you touch the curb and readjust, that's okay. And you have to use the parking brake every time you park the vehicle for the purposes of keeping yourself safe and for passing a driver's test. And if you want to be guaranteed that your vehicle is still going to be in the same place when you come back after you park it and leave it, put on the parking brake. That way you can be guaranteed that it's going to be there because you have a backup. Okay, park in the transmission is the biggest misnomer that we have because modern vehicles automatically apply the parking brake. So if they're automatically applying the parking brake, you should be doing it too if your vehicle doesn't have that feature. How many times can I pull up? You get one pull up on a maneuver when you're reversing, backing to a parking space or whatnot, and before the examiner starts to assign demerit points. And can I adjust my mirrors for parallel parking? No, you can't. The examiner will not tolerate that extra 30 seconds it takes you to adjust your mirrors. So you cannot adjust your mirrors for the purposes of parallel parking on your driver's test. Good luck in your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Tim, my friend Tim from DriveSmart BC. I was taught push-pull steering, but for all parking lot type driving, it's become a habit and works well for me. Yeah, it's kind of what you're taught. I know that for sure, Tim. And I know a lot of students who were new to truck driving would come in and do the push-pull thing as well. And I just find it really slow. I cannot move the steering wheel as well, especially on a big truck when I'm trying to back up and I need to move the steering wheel really fast from one place to the other. It was just hand over hand was way easier, and especially in the car as well. Thank you, Marion, for that. I found that when I do hand to hand, the steering wheel is jerky, so I do hand over hand, much better control. Yes, absolutely. And you know, the reality is that most modern vehicles are, the alignment is so good, the tires are so good on these vehicles, those types of things that, you can drive with one hand most of the time. Going around corners and those types of things. And yes, the Frenchies are barking in the background here. Elevator fan, can I use a horn on a driver's test? You can, but sparingly on a driver's test, elevator fan. For example, if you're sitting at a traffic light and the vehicle in front of you isn't going because they're on their phone or they're distracted or whatnot, then, just like beep, beep, just to let them know to go. But, as I said, if you've got time to use the horn, you've got time to take evasive action. And I've got a video here that I will show you on my dash cam that, what was I going to say? I was coming out of soccer after picking up my son, and what happened? Somebody was driving on my side of the road. They're like driving towards me on my side of the road, and I was like, "What the heck?" And so anyway, yeah, sometimes you got to use the horn, and I did honk the horn because they were being goofy. Retired? No, I haven't switched to daytime live streams. I've switched to a daytime live stream to try and help the people in Europe who are helping out so that they're not staying up really late. I'm still doing the one on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. So we're doing the one now in the morning, and then tomorrow night we're doing the one at 6 p.m. My friend Sam, hello, my friend, how are you? Tim, no, it's probably not. I don't know why audio and this is out of sync. I've done these a few times and pulled them down and then realized the audio and the video are out of sync. I think it has something to do with YouTube. I hate to say that, but anyway. Okay, Klaus, the dog is clearly under the desk. If you park like in the picture on the presentation, the student will probably fail the test. Yes, indeed. It's not in sync. Yeah, I thought so. I've had this happen before, and I don't know why it is. Every now and again, the audio and the video are not in sync. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know how to fix that in the middle of the live stream. I'll see what I can do. It might also have something to do that I switched my software, so I'm using my phone as a camera. That might have something to do with it as well in terms of this out of sync. Tim, DriveSmart BC, for those of you in the province of British Columbia, check out DriveSmart BC. Awesome resources for the province of British Columbia. Road safety, policing, court cases, anything to do with traffic safety here in the province. Check out Tim's website, DriveSmart BC, and as well an excellent forum over there. You can engage in conversation with other experts and authorities in the field of traffic safety and get answers to your questions. DriveSmart BC, check that out. Reggie, I passed my driver's test today. I just wanted to say thanks for the videos, which have helped a lot and will continue showing support. Awesome. Congratulations, Reggie, on passing your driver's test. Thank you so much for dropping back and letting us know that you were successful in passing your driver's test. Excellent. And thanks for posting that again, Reggie. I was going to get back to you. It's all good. Thanks, Marion. Joys of technology. Oh, the joys of technology. You and I both know for sure. Sensei, I have learned a lot from your channel. Keep up the great work. Thank you, my friend. And more to come for sure. We're definitely working to help as many people out as we can to pass their driver's test. Elevator fan, where I drive, some intersections have arrows pointing to the right for vehicles turning right. In Indiana, you can turn right on a red arrow after you make a complete stop, and signs don't prohibit the maneuver. And yes, there are most places you can make a right turn on a red light. The only places that I know of that you cannot are New York City and its 5 boroughs. So Queens, Staten Island, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and the Bronx. Those are the places you cannot make right turns on a red light. As well, the island of Montreal in the province of Quebec, you cannot make right turns on a red light. And everywhere else, as far as I know, you can make rights on red lights after coming to a complete stop, as Monticello says here, and giving way to all of the road users and then creeping forward and maneuvering so that you're not interfering with anybody else. And actually, I had this happen. A woman was making a right-hand turn, and this is where the head movement comes in, okay? You cannot drive a vehicle like this. You cannot turn like this. You have to move your head, and you have to be scanning all the time. So, what I need to say to you is that I was walking across, the woman was trying to make a right-hand turn, but she's looking left to try and see the oncoming traffic, and I stepped out in front of her, and I should have waited as the pedestrian because I should have known that they were not looking before they started going. But as soon as they started going and driving into me, then I yelled, because I don't like cars that try and run over me when I'm walking on the roadway. But again, it's one of these things that's really tricky for new drivers to make right turns on red lights. Now, know that if traffic is busy, you can wait for the green light during your driver's test, okay? If it's not busy, you can make the right on the red light. And there are some places with examiners that have the discretion that if traffic is light and you don't go, you wait for that green light, they might fail you, okay? Because if traffic is really light and there's not much there, you're just kind of adding to congestion. So there's always this balance when you're driving between congestion and collisions and crashes, right? We got this balance. You got to go and maintain traffic flow, or you're holding up traffic as well. So there's kind of that balance. Yes, absolutely. What Tim just said, if you can afford it, take driving lessons with a driving school. Sam, great book you have there. I read it up to page 20 so far. People should get the book if they want to pass. It really helps, and I'm just not saying that. Awesome. Thank you so much for the endorsement, Sam. That is really, really awesome. Elevator fan, is it an automatic fail on a driver's test if the examiner intervenes before you? Yes, elevator fan. Excellent question. If the driving examiner intervenes either verbally or physically taking control of the vehicle by putting the transmission into neutral or grabbing the steering wheel and conducting evasive maneuvers during your driving test, that is an automatic fail on a driver's test. All right. So for example, there's one student here that I had to intervene with. You know, it's not an advanced green and they start going, that's going to be an automatic fail on a driver's test. So yes, if the examiner intervenes in your test, unfortunately, you're not going to pass. Marion, yep, it's hard to make sure that everyone is clear before turning right on a red light, pedestrians and cyclists, and yes, and that's why moving your head, and we have driving examiners who have mirrors in their cars and they're looking to see whether your eyes are moving. No, I shouldn't be looking for your eyes because we have a biological limitation. Your eyes cannot move in your head enough to be able to do all the looking and seeing that you need to be doing when you're driving. You should be moving your head, shoulder checking, looking around, doing your 360-degree scans and those types of things. All right? All right. Just seeing if I got all the questions here. Vanilla, hey Rick, what advice do you get for someone who works and wants to get more extra practice? The time isn't there in terms of the weekday. Vanilla, more practice. Basically, you know, if you can get somebody to take you down to a parking lot, you can work in the parking lot as well. If the car's sitting in your driveway, you can simply move forward and back up. You know, get used to the vehicle. Again, it comes back to this exposure therapy. The more you are in the vehicle, the more you are working the controls, the more comfortable you're going to be with the vehicle. So just backing up in your driveway, driving forward. I know that it's not sexy. You're not really moving that much and those types of things, and it probably isn't a whole lot of fun. Getting very comfortable with the secondary controls that you need to be able to work at minimum. You should be able to work the defrost, the high-low beam headlights, and you should be able to work the windshield wipers, the low settings, the high settings, and the squirt settings. So how it puts water on the windshield. Make sure that you keep your washer fluid filled up as well, so that all of that, you know, you can keep the windshield clean for best being able to see when you're driving your vehicle, okay? So you want to work those secondary controls. You want to get in your vehicle and you want to be able to know where those secondary controls are, because on different types of vehicles are going to be in different places. The other piece about secondary controls, know how to turn on your four-way flashers. We'll talk a little bit about four-way flashers. I put up a question last week about when you use your four-way flashers, and some people took umbrage with the fact that I said when you're pulled over on the side of the road, you should turn on your four-way flashers to let other drivers on the roadway know that you're being unpredictable and you're sitting on the side of the roadway, because it's a dangerous place to sit. Mazel, what do you do when merging lane to get on the highway is very short? If you're talking about New York State, where it's parkways, and yes, indeed, it is very short, then you're going to have to stop and wait for a gap in traffic before you can merge. But the only place that I know that is in New York State with parkways, there are some older interstates and freeways and whatnot where the on-ramp is going to be incredibly short, the acceleration lane is going to be non-existent, then yes, you're going to need to stop and wait and look for a gap before you proceed out on the highway. Klaus, in Germany, on some traffic lights, we have a metallic sign beside the traffic light. It's a green arrow. It's the exact same thing, how turn right on red in US and Canada. Okay, so it's telling you that you can, in fact, turn right on a red light, Klaus. That's what you're doing. Awesome. Mallory asks if it's okay to, in a driver's test, to use a running commentary. And yes, I do encourage you to use a running commentary, because the person that you're with, whether it's your mentor, or it's a driving instructor, or the examiner, will know exactly what you're doing. Okay? They're not second guessing what you're looking at and what you're seeing. They know what you're looking at. They know what you're seeing. So do that running commentary when you're learning how to drive. The other aspect of that is we retain 90% of the information that we're talking about as we're doing and driving the vehicle. So talk while you're driving the vehicle. So two things. Retention, the amount of information you're going to retain, is going to increase. You're also going to take note of that cyclist in the intersection, which is going to keep you safe. Second of all, the mentor, the person with you, is not going to have to second guess whether you saw that cyclist or that pedestrian in the intersection and whatnot. So really, really good learning tool. Use that for sure. Natalie, I passed my road test even though my examiner stepped on the brake. I didn't react fast enough to traffic behind when getting out of parallel parking. I got lucky. Awesome. Did you feel the examiner hit the brake, or did they tell you that they hit the brake when you were coming out? Because that seems odd that they would still pass you. Generally they wouldn't. If you did, then you were cut a brake for sure. That's awesome. Elevator fan, when you were learning how to change lanes, it's best to change lanes without passing at first. How do you mean passing at first? I don't understand that part. Elevator fan, just let me know there. Natalie did running commentary during the test and had good steering and made good turns at the intersection, probably why I passed. Okay, excellent. And this is an excellent point that Natalie just brought up. If you get everything else right on your driver's test and you make one mistake, but everything else is golden, exactly what Natalie was just saying. I did a running commentary, my steering was good, my turns were good, my observation, my communication, everything was good. You're probably going to pass your driver's test if you make one mistake. Exactly what happened to Natalie. She pulled out, she misjudged the traffic, and the examiner used the brake on the passenger side. You're going to pass your driver's test because they're like, okay, you made one mistake, you're going to pass your driver's test. It was the same, another example of that. I had to retake my truck driving license when I went to Australia. So I'm with the examiner, I'm driving, and of course, I come from North America. I didn't really I didn't practice at all. I just went down and did the test and then went out for a drive in the truck. And didn't know anything about roundabouts, and I didn't know how to really handle roundabouts at the time, and I kind of plowed into the roundabout. And the examiner's like, oh, we didn't see that car kind of coming to a stop there. And I was like, oh, okay, you kind of gotta yield to traffic in the roundabout before you start moving into the roundabout. You can't just kind of plow into the roundabout. But the examiner saw that I could drive the truck. He knew that I could drive the truck, except I had a great deal of trouble because I'm sitting on the other side of the vehicle judging that side of the truck, right? So I passed because the examiner knew that I could drive, exactly what Natalie just said. They did everything else right? The rest of the test was awesome, 95%. Made one mistake, misjudged the traffic. If you do that, you're going to pass your driver's test. And the other piece about that, if you make a mistake on your test, don't get stuck into that mistake, okay? Don't let that mistake erode your performance. Keep going until the examiner tells you to stop, all right? Don't stop until the examiner tells you to stop. Don't get stuck into a mistake and, undermine the rest of your test. Just keep going, okay? I can do this. I'm going to pass. Just keep going. Mallory, I highly recommend that you watch Smart Drive Test. You can learn a lot from watching all the videos. Awesome. Thank you for that endorsement, Mallory. That is really great, my friend. Benjamin, in Ukraine, if there is a traffic light section with a green arrow, It obliges you to make a turn, unlike the green arrow on the metal tablet. Okay, and when you're talking about, Benjamin, a green arrow, are you talking a left turn or are you talking about a right turn? And in conjunction with that, so in addition to that, do you also have a dedicated lane for turning left or a dedicated lane for turning right? So if the traffic moves into that lane, then they're either going to turn right or they're going to be in this lane and they're going to turn left. I suspect that's what's going to, those two things are going to go together with the traffic, with the arrows for sure. All right. Okay. Marion, yep, it's hard to make sure that everyone is clear before turning right. Yes, turning right. And again, the other piece about that is unexpected events on a driver's test. Turning right on a red light is one of those things on a driver's test that is that can be unexpected, okay? Because you might do 6 driving lessons and never during those 6 driving lessons do you turn right on a red light. So it's one of those things that you may only practice 1 or 2 times every 10 lessons. It's the same thing as encountering yellow traffic lights when you're going through an intersection. You may only hit a yellow traffic light once or twice every 6 lessons. All right, so it's an unexpected event. So, and I'll put the video down in the description. I didn't put it down there, but now that we're talking about it, I'll put the unexpected events for driving tests down in the description. So if you're watching now on the live, check that out. If you're watching on the replay, check out that down in the description, because that will give you unexpected events. If you're taking your driving test or practicing and learning how to drive in the city of New York or Chicago, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you're probably going to encounter emergency vehicles every day you're out practicing driving. However, here where I live in Vernon, British Columbia, or you're in Monticello, Indiana, you're probably not going to encounter emergency vehicles very often. It's an unexpected event on a driver's test. Know that, okay? Practice that. Be ready for that. Look at that video on unexpected events on a driver's test. That is something that you might be required to handle. Okay, other things, big trucks parking, blocking the roadways, construction, crashes, all of this stuff is stuff that can happen, but it's not likely that you're going to have to deal with it for the purposes of your driver's test. All right, so know that, know what could be unexpected on your driver's test, and be prepared for that so you can be successful in passing your driver's test first time. Klaus, in Germany, you can only turn right on red if the sign is on the pole. In Bavaria, this sign is rare, but in the eastern states, you find this sign often in smaller towns. Awesome. Senseiya, I have difficulty on driving the C-shaped roads when entering highways. I end up balancing my hand on the window or passenger seat. And no, you're not alone in that. In terms of hanging on for balance and whatnot. Generally, it's kind of the counter force, and I don't know whether I do this instinctively or naturally, but generally what happens is if I'm going around one of those sharp corners like that, I will tend to slide my bum over, and that way I can balance, right, as I'm going around the corner. And if I'm going this way, I'll slide my bum the other way to counterbalance instead of trying to hang on to the door, those types of things. If you go to a traffic light, and you see people turning left, and you know, because on left turns you can get quite a bit more speed, you'll see people doing that. They'll be hanging onto the door and they're working the steering wheel so that they're like, ah! And that counter force in the vehicle is called yaw. Okay, that side to side lateral forces that's called yaw in the vehicle, and it's one of the things that tells us and gives us the information that we're beginning to lose control of the vehicle. So because the back end starts to come around and we get that feeling of yaw, that's what lets us know that the vehicle is starting to go to control. And these are the forces that you're dealing with when you're going around corners on right and left hand turns. Marion, I was coming up to an intersection, light turned orange, so I stopped. A cyclist went through the red light, so if I had kept going on the orange, I would have hit this person. Awesome. So you didn't. And this is why, as one smart driver said to me a couple of months ago, and I thought this was incredibly clever, was that Yellow lights are the beginning of the red. They are not the end of the green. It does not mean that you need to accelerate and proceed through the intersection. If you can stop, do so, and if you can stop safely, do so. That's what a yellow light means. It does not speed up and careen through the intersection, because, as Marion said, you could get yourself into trouble there. All right, Benjamin, I forgot to mention the main thing about a right turn on a green arrow light. You are obliged to turn right if there is a vehicle with a right signal on. All right, okay, excellent. Thank you for that information. Awesome. Big Mac Sam, thank you for the endorsement, my friend. Klaus, you can't turn right on a red light in general. Just a side note for tourists. Okay, you must have that sign when you're in Germany and driving there. Awesome, thank you for that. Mazel, I was on a 3-lane going in one direction that switched to a 2-lane going in the same direction as everybody's supposed to move their cars to the left in that case. Mazel, generally what happens with those is you will have arrows over the lanes, lighted arrows, and the arrows will switch colors. So you'll have a green arrow, and that means that you can travel in that direction in that lane. If it's a red arrow, then you need to move over into the other lanes that will allow you to move through. Tim says yaw is rotation around the vertical axis through the vehicle. Yes. So essentially this is the vehicle. This is the vertical axis here of the center of the vehicle, and it's the vehicle doing this as it's moving, and you're feeling that with the centrifugal force. It's all very complicated, all physics and those types of things. A little beyond what we're doing here. Maybe we can get the guy over at engineering explain to talk about yaw and how that'll helps us to drive and not lose control of our vehicle, because it's a little beyond my ability in terms of driving instruction. I'm more into the traffic laws, human behavior, and what motivates drivers to drive in the manners that they do. That they do. That's my expertise. Scott, I didn't know you did lives. Yes, I do. Trying to do 2 a week, one in the morning for those that can't attend, the ones at night, and then another one tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So yes, doing live streams for sure. And just for those of you watching on the live stream, watching on the replay, get yourself on the mailing list over at the Smart Drive Test website. Sign up for one of the checklists. You'll automatically get put into the onto the mailing list, and I send out an email when I'm going to do the live streams. Okay, so I sent one out this morning, and I'll send another one out tomorrow, indicating when I'm going live, and you'll be able to get all the information you need to be successful on your driver's test, being a safer, smarter driver, or becoming a CDL driver, getting your CDL license. Tim, I can tell you how to calculate speed from yaw marks on the pavement. Awesome. Awesome. And Tim has taken all the courses on crash reconstruction, marks and those types of things, and I read a lot of these analytical reports from police when I'm doing crash analysis for lawyers and whatnot, and they bring me in to do the, as I said, human behavior, drivers, reactions, skills, those types of things and whatnot. Marion, yes, I probably need a coffee for sure, no doubt. Alexis, I love to listen to you. I'm still trying to motivate myself to drive. I'm so scared to do it on my own. Watching for Trinidad. Alexis, you can definitely do it, my friend. You just got to get started. I mean, that's the hardest part, right? Think of it like an airplane. The hardest part is taking off and getting going. So we can definitely help you out there. Tim says, are the critical curve speed based on the radius, super elevation, and the coefficient of friction? Super elevation. What is super elevation? Is that how far the car comes off the ground? I'm sure that's not what it is. I don't know what that is. No, not all. I didn't do momentum. Okay, perfect. All right. Michael, hey, just found your channel today. Here to learn to be a good driver, watching from New York City. Awesome. Michael, definitely have a look at the video with Sam, who's in the Bronx there. We went down and I did a video with him on how to pass your driver's test. I was unsuccessful in passing the driver's test because when I come to a red light, I'm just automatically looking to make a right on a red turn. Well, the Bronx is one of those places you can't make a right on a red turn. So this is one of the reasons And again, if you want to be successful on passing your driver's test, you must practice in and around the test center where you're going to be taking your test, and figure out where the schools are in proximity to the driving test center. So many people have come back to me and said that they were unsuccessful because they sped in a school zone and those types of things. Well, you don't know what's on the driver's test. You should know what's on the driver's test. And when I say that, what I mean is, do you parallel park with cones? Do you parallel park in the test center, or do you parallel park out on a roadway? Parallel parking with cones, as I just said, 3-point turns, backing into a parking space. Can you back into the parking space of the DMV where you're going to be taking your test? Or do you just pull up along the curb and wait for the examiner to come out? You need to know what's on the driver's test where you're taking your driver's test. Marion, yes, we have lots of birds in the backyard. The one thing about this house where I live is the backyard is absolutely the best. Okay, Michael, that's the video that got you here. Awesome. Okay, and there's some shorts as well, and we can help you. So any questions you have, Michael, let me know, and I will just leave a comment. I check the comments every day, and I will send you the videos that you need to be successful on passing your driver's test, okay? But parallel parking, 3-point turn, backing into a parking space, make sure you can do all of that to be successful in passing your driver's test. Okay, excellent. And you're going to be doing your driver's test soon. Awesome. Banking the curve equals super elevation. Okay. The reason I didn't know that it was called super elevation, that's another word, Tim. I call it camber. Camber. The camber of the road. That's not right either. That's not the right term. I'll need to look it up. I'll send you an email. Okay. Awesome. Excellent. So, last point here, just go over the 4 points before we get started. Pass your driver's test first time, guaranteed to pass your driver's test over at the Smart Drive Test website. You can pick that up for about $38. We include both the winter and defensive driving smart courses to keep you safe after you passed your driver's test. Okay, that's available for about $38 US over at the Smart Drive Test website. 4 components of any driver's test: space management, observation, communication, and speed management. And the reason I put speed management last is because it's the least important of all the rest of them. Okay, space management. If you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. Stopping at the correct stopping position at controlled intersections, before the stop line, before the crosswalk lines or sidewalk, and if those two conditions don't exist, then at the edge of the road, where just before entering the intersection. 3 to 4 second following distance for the duration of your test. All right. Do not enter an intersection that you can't clear. So if traffic is backed up in the intersection, wait at the stop line. When there's enough room on the other side of the intersection, then proceed through the intersection. Again, this is another unexpected event for you on a driver's test, and I'm writing this down here to remind myself to put the video down in the description for you. All right, so space management and, stopping in traffic, 1 vehicle length back so you can see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the pavement. Those are musts. Observation. Okay, you must observe. You have to have a forward scanning pattern that you're repeating every 10 to 15 seconds. Far down the road, instrument panel, far down the road, center mirror, far down the road, left wing mirror, far down the road, right wing mirror. That's the observation for forward scanning. Lane changes, okay? Minimum 3 flashes on the signal before moving over to the other lane. So mirror signal shoulder check. You got your gap. To know that you have sufficient gap, the vehicle behind you has to be in the outer 1/3 of the mirror. Otherwise, they're too close. All right? 3 flashes on the signal minimum. So your mirror signal shoulder check, look forward again. Mirror signal shoulder check again. It's good to go. 3 flashes. Start moving over. You need to accelerate slightly as you're moving because you're moving on an angle and you're covering more distance. Keep your signal on till you're completely in the other lane. If you put your signal on and your mirror signal shoulder check and the vehicle beside you speeds up, you're like, I hate you. Oh my God, curse you. The wrath forever. I smote you. Don't get excited when other cars speed up to pass you when you put your signal on to change lanes. They're actually doing you a favor because they're getting out of the way. All right? So try not to lose your cool when other cars do that. Okay, they're doing you a favor, they're getting out of the way. Lane changes, reversing, 360-degree scan around the vehicle, check your backup camera, check your mirrors, but you have to look out through the back window for the duration of your backing. Observation. Reversing is the one time you can have your hand on the top of the steering wheel, and you can put your other hand on the back of the passenger seat when you're backing up. 360-degree scan. Go slow in parking lots. If you're in the DMV and they have a parking lot, or they take you into someplace else to get you to do the reverse parking, go slow. Communication. 5 ways that we communicate. Position of the vehicle on the roadway or the road user, where the road user is. For example, a car in the left turning lane is most likely going to turn left. All right. If there's a pedestrian at a crosswalk, a high probability that that pedestrian is going to cross the roadway. Lights and signals, eye contact, hand gestures, and then the last one is the use of your horn. Okay, use your horn sparingly, because in North America, it's seen as a sign of aggression. And the last one is speed management. Okay, posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. That's how fast you need to drive for your posted speed limit. And keep in mind as well, your forward observation is tied into your speed control. Your forward scanning pattern should be repeating every 10 to 15 seconds. So every 10 to 15 seconds, you should be adjusting your speed. All right. And so again, it's posted speed limit or flow of traffic. And don't dawdle. All right. The other piece of driving is if you are being too namby-pamby and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm being safe, and you're driving 5 miles an hour below the posted speed limit and you're going around corners at 3 miles an hour, you are not going to be successful on your driver's test, because what it tells the driving examiner is that you don't have enough driving experience to drive safe on the roadways. So that's all of that in terms of the skills that you need to be successful on your driver's test. Space management, observation, communication, and speed management. Those are the 4 tools that you need to be a successful driver on your driver's test and to keep yourself safe after you get your license. Natalie, really good advice on practicing the last test routes with a local instructor. They gave me really good feedback. It's so worth it. And yes, exactly what Natalie said, what I said. Contrary to somebody leaving a comment that some driving instructor said that it's not worth it. Rubbish, it's not worth it. It is totally worth it, because if I'm the driving instructor, for example, and any other driving instructor, first of all, they're going to take you on the driving route where you're going to be taking your test. They're not going to tell you that, but they will. And second of all, they're going to give you feedback on the skills and abilities that you need to improve to be successful on passing your driver's test. Tim, camber comes from the center of the roadway from being higher than the edges. Okay, so it's reverse of super elevation. Awesome. Okay, thank you for that, Tim. But talking about roads and the camber, it's not camber. Canter? No. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, when you bank, when you got to bank, that's the word we're looking for. Nice and simple. When the curve of the road banks to keep the car on the roadway and counter the forces that throw you off and continue to have your vehicle go straight. All that. Michael, how to study on driver's manual handbook. Michael, yes. Send me, just put a comment. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just write myself a note. Learner's permit. And what I'll do, Michael, for you is I'll put the videos down in the description there. Have a look here in about 5 minutes after the live stream ends here in a couple of minutes. And I'll put the links down for you for how to study for your learner's permit, and that'll help you out. Klaus, it's a little bit salty if you're about to overtake someone on the freeway and this person speeds up to your speed and they're not letting you drive by. Yeah, those people. I had one of those people yesterday, actually, that was being an absolute muttonhead, driving 20 kilometers an hour below the posted speed limit, and then the nut bar, when I tried to pass them, sped up. Okay? Yeah, it just really annoyed the crap out of me. Okay? All right, elevator fan, while you are waiting for traffic to move, the light can turn red. Indeed, yes, it can. So keep an eye on and look around and all those types of things. C-shapes turn remind me of roller coasters. All right. Okay, I think we answered all the questions here. Yes. The puppy we have a special guest today for this. Just hang on one sec here. Okay, so we have Frenchies. 2 Frenchies. This is Izzy Bear, and this is Striker. This is Striker's buddy. She comes over during the daytime and hangs out. But right now they're not very interested because they're both having a big nap. And yeah, Izzy Bear. Izzy Bear is very cuddly. So, say hi. This is Izzy Bear, and this is Striker. And they're both like, "What are you doing, Dad? You're so weird. Can we just go back and have our nap now?" Because they had a big play this morning. And they wore each other out. And that's what they do. So it's really good. So, you passed your driver's test in the last couple of weeks. Congratulations. If you have a driver's test coming up in the next week or so, good luck on that. Drop us a note if you have any questions, and I'll put those links down in the description, so look down there for those. All the best. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.